Hello there, men, and welcome to the Masculinism Movement channel, a place for men to be men and talk about masculinity and men's issues. I'm your host, Brian Krall, and today I have an extra special video for you. So special, in fact, that I actually got all dressed up, super duper dapper for you today because it's like a special occasion. I've actually been looking forward to this video ever since I started planning this channel. It is one of the few videos that I'm ever going to do for you that requires a visual aid. And this one's going to be a lot of fun. This video is on the relationship Venn diagram of men and women's relationship and what they each get from the relationship, both respectively and mutually. So it's going to be a really interesting and enlightening video for you. And I hope you can see my bow tie because it really was a pain in the ass to tie. And I probably won't ever wear it again. I don't know how I used to even wear these things. I guess I'm just out of practice. But anyways, for this video, like I said, I'm going to need a visual aid, so I need to clear a little space here if you just give me a second. Last time I was able to do something like, get the fuck out of here, or something like that. If I didn't. Alright, there we go. Okay, so now I just need a whiteboard. And last time, oh! Still works. Great. Now, for my next trick, I will attempt to draw two perfect circles, each overlapping in a perfectly symmetrical fashion. So the red circle represents women, the green circle represents men, and I'm going to fill it with what each gets out of a relationship. Let's start with the men. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, that's obvious, you know, sex would be the first and foremost thing that men get out of a relationship. But keep in mind, this is a Venn diagram, and women get sex out of the relationship too. Right? In fact, women get sex out of a relationship in many ways more than men do, much more. Women control when the sex is had. Women have exponentially more nerve endings in their genitalia, which leads to exponentially more pleasure. I used to be a sex educator, so I have a lot of data on this. One study that I found measured the female orgasm to be 800% that of the male orgasm. And of course, women are capable of having multiple orgasms, whereas men are not. So women can have 4 or 8 or 12 or more. And a man, would only be having one every time, if that. And then, of course, women can deny sex to a man. In fact, right now, there is a nationwide political sex strike in which feminists and other political women are going on strike and refusing to have sex with their boyfriends due to the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So it's really led me to think about whether men really do get sex out of a relationship. A woman can say no anytime she wants, like, having a relationship's no guarantee. A woman can withhold it from a man as a form of punishment or as a form of political protest. And yet a woman gets it whenever she wants it and gets more out of it than the man. Not only does she get, more pleasure and more orgasms, but then she also gets children that she can, use against him. Right? And the woman gets to say whether or not she gets to impregnate herself and have children. So women really do get far more out of sex than men. They get it when they want it more than men do. So it's hard to say whether I should put sex over here or over here. But, obviously, since men do get it too, I think sex has to go in the middle. So sex is something that both parties get. And then I mentioned that children are produced by sex. And of course, while the woman can take them away from the man at any time, I'll put it in the middle just to be fair. So both parties technically are supposed to get kids out of the relationship, even though the woman often takes them from the man. So let's just assume that in this case the couple is staying together and they're both going to be sharing the children. But let's talk more about what the men get out of the relationship. Again, exclusively, not shared. What a man gets out of a relationship that benefits him and only him, and not the woman as well. Well, I can't think of anything. Let's hold that thought. We'll put a pin in it, right? We'll put this bullet here so we know we're going to come back and list something. We'll get there, but for now, let's move on. Another shared benefit, of course, would be companionship. And these, I think, are the 3 primary benefits that both parties share in the relationship. But now let's move on to the women. Well, first, they get dates and entertainment is something that, of course, men have to offer to women and women get from men when they are dating or in a relationship or whatever. It is the man's job to court the woman and take her out and entertain her, not the other way around. All right. And then another given in any relationship is that the woman gets the man's money. It's always been that way since time immemorial. The man has to give over monetary assets to a woman in a relationship with her. Feminism hasn't changed that. This monetary sacrifice takes many forms and generally doesn't work the other way around. But that is not the only thing a man gives a woman in a relationship. He also offers her help in the form of free labor, favors, services, and other forms of help. And again, these things generally don't work the other way around. So the woman gets resources from the man in the form of money or monetary assets and value, as well as free professional services and labor and other forms of help. But that's not all that she gets from him. She also gets attention and validation, which again is something that generally doesn't work the other way around. Women generally hound their men for attention and validation without offering it in return. If a man wants to spend time with a woman and she's simply not interested in having his company at that point, she's just going to ignore it. However, if she wants his company and attention at that time, she's going to go right ahead and hijack it from him, and he's going to have very little agency in the matter. So attention and validation is a huge form of resource that women feed off of because of the fact that they are narcissistic. So validation and attention to them is something that they need in order to feel alive and feel good and such. It's something that they need just as much as they need air and food. So while it is an invisible thing, when you are in a relationship as a man, you can feel it when you are being depleted by a woman because she's just feeding on your attention and your time and your validation and other forms of emotional support and coaching when your validation is not enough. That again is another thing that doesn't work the other way around. Men cannot rely and depend upon women for emotional support in a relationship. However, women do use men as emotional tampons and free counselors and coaches, and will constantly need that emotional support and coaching in order to be able to function psychologically and emotionally, as an adult and as a professional and such. They're going to constantly be coming to you with their problems, not even wanting help solving them, just wanting an emotional tampon to vent to for its therapeutic effects and for your emotional support and coaching. So let's add that one to the board. That is a big one. But then also another uniquely female benefit in a relationship that she gets from the man and he does not get from her is protection. It has long been the social consensus that it is the man's job to protect the female in the relationship, just as it is his job to provide for her monetarily. All right, and he of course is not going to get any form of protection or security from the female. However, even though he is her protector, something that's really interesting that I've noticed, at least in this day and age where we are now living in a matriarchy and not a patriarchy anymore, is that one thing women get out of a relationship is control and power. Because the relationships are all led by the woman. She's the gatekeeper for sex. It is the man's job to ask her if she wants to be in a relationship with him, and she's the one who gets to either say yes or no to that, so she gets the decision power there. She gets the decision power when she gets proposed to for marriage, and when she is then getting married, and when she gets married, she then has the decision power to opt out of the marriage, and she's the one with the least investment in it, and who will get the most out of it if she does leave. So that's basically constantly being held over the man's head, as is so much else, like his ability to either have his sexual needs met or be forced into celibacy, as well as have his emotional needs met or be given the silent treatment, right? Women have all of this power and control over a man, and a man's job in a relationship is really to empower his woman and do things for her to, help her or make her happy or emotionally support her or whatever it may be that she needs at that moment, right? So relationships really are led by the women. The women are really the ones who are in control and have power in the relationships and not the man. Which leads me to the next thing that a woman gets out of a relationship from the man and not vice versa, which is status. Status, which is one of the main things that attracts a woman to a man enough for her to sign up to be in a relationship with him and get married is his status and how much higher it is than hers, and thus how much it can elevate her in her life in the social hierarchy of society. So a man basically, bequeaths this status to a woman who gets its benefit and will be lucky if he's able to then keep it because of how she will financially leech off of his money. So as I mentioned in a previous video, oftentimes when a man raises a woman up, she actually lowers him down. So unfortunately, raising someone up doesn't work both ways. It is a uniquely female benefit. So you see, the woman gets a lot of social utility out of a relationship, but it's not just about getting her needs met. Women, of course, get much more than that, such as gifts from the man. Men, of course, have to be able to offer women gifts on all of the numerous holidays out there that have either been totally created from scratch by women, working at like the Hallmark company or something, or monetized by women who love to turn holidays into some sort of superficial, consumerism and materialism festival. So you have got to be able to give a woman gifts on all of the holidays that society says you are supposed to give them gifts, as well as your anniversary and any special occasions that may be specific to you two and your relationship. But this is something that you as a man shouldn't expect the other way around. All right, women are generally not known for giving gifts to men. They're known for expecting gifts from men, and your gifts are going to have to be good. Okay, they can't just be anything. You can't just be giving them cards with gift cards in them or checks, like a woman would actually do for a man. But your gifts will need to either be expensive, and have some sort of glitz or glam to them, or they need to be thoughtful and sentimental or creative, right? They need to be good in some way. And again, you shouldn't expect anything in return.
Wait a minute. Now a word from our sponsor, me. Do you value the ability to use words to do things such as compose meaningful sentences and speak the truth? Did you know that here in this great country of America, you have the right to free speech? And so do I. And if you don't support people who are exercising that right, then you are probably a fascist dictator. Just like the YouTube algorithm, which stifles the content of patriotic people like me, who dare to speak out against the gynocentric, matriarchal, feminist regime that has been aggressively taking over our country. And if YouTube isn't going to promote my content and is going to suppress it instead, I can only rely upon you, my viewers, to show your support. If you don't support free speech, we will stop having it, which is exactly what is already happening with YouTube videos that censor themselves getting promoted and explicit ones like mine getting shadow banned. So, if you like listening to me use my free speech, make sure to press like and share and donate whatever you can with the PayPal link below. Don't make me work for free and get censored like a fucking communist. And with the presidential election coming up, your donations can literally be used to fund my campaign to get into the White House and abolish the matriarchy once and for all. Literally. Who would you rather have as your president? An old limp-dick liberal leftist cuck with noodly arms who's probably never been in a real fight in his life? Or a good old-fashioned, misogynistic, patriarchal man's man like me, with balls big enough to stand up to women, and who you can count on to speak out against them and tell it like it is. Fight the feminazi dictatorship. Spread the message of masculinism. Keep my work alive. And now, back to our regularly scheduled content.
And similarly, a uniquely female benefit and amenity from relationships with a man is happiness. When a man proposes to a woman and or gets married, he will vow to make her happy in return for her agreeing to marry him. The marriage is done for the female's happiness, not the male's, and it is his job to work to ensure that she remains happy in the relationship at all times. Otherwise, she will end it at any given moment and take half of his stuff or more and go build a new nest with her nest egg that she stole from you, right? That is why there is the saying, happy wife, happy life. It doesn't work the other way around. Women are not there in marriages to work for the man's happiness. So that is another thing that goes in the female column, as is the next, which is love. And the reason I bring that up is because women tend to agree, at least in the media and on female talk shows and everything, that love should be unconditional, that a man should love a woman for who she is and not what she could do for him, especially sexually, right? And that his love should be unconditional and thus undying. He should always be loving her and giving her his love no matter what she does, right? And yet that is obviously something that a woman would never do for a man, right? Because as you can see just from this Venn diagram, women only love a man conditionally based upon what they are getting from him, right? I mean, to them, the feeling of love is the feeling of, pleasure or whatever pleasant emotions or sensations they get out of being provided for, having all of their wants and needs provided for by the man, right? It has nothing to do with who he is as a person. It is certainly not unconditional. It is very conditional upon him being able to do these things for her and provide these things for her. So women are the only ones that get real love out of a relationship. Isn't that unfortunate for men? That really sucks. But that's not all. Another thing that women get out of a relationship is being always right. You gotta add that in, because everyone knows women never admit to being wrong and apologize and do what they need to make it up to the man, make sure they're being fair to him and doing right by him. No. They are in the relationship to make sure the man does right by them, and they aren't concerned about doing right by him. They're concerned about making sure he agrees that they are always right at all times, no matter what, and no matter what the issue. if he disagrees with her on anything, no matter how small, she will spend however much time and energy it takes and use whatever social manipulation tactics and emotional manipulation and even punishments to ensure that she can coerce him into agreeing that she is in fact right and he is the one who was wrong all along. Every man who's been in relationships has been through this countless times. It really sucks for us men to be never right somehow, even about things that are facts or logic, and yet women never admit when they are wrong, never apologize for any wrongdoing that may have hurt our feelings or caused us some sort of harm or personal injury, never make it up to us or make an effort to be fair to the man, no matter how much they are into equality. Women are always right and men are always wrong. And then lastly, I'd just like to add, really, whatever else a woman might want, it could be totally random or miscellaneous. A woman can reach a certain point in her life where all of a sudden she wants something different than what she's been doing, and she wants the man to somehow provide it for her or support her in doing or getting it, whatever it may be. She may want to suddenly move and have the man buy her a new house, or she may want to, suddenly go to college for something that, is up to the man to pay for and won't have any return. Maybe she wants to, go to music school and learn how to be a famous singer, or maybe she wants to go to theater school, learn how to be a famous actress, and there's going to be a whole lot of money that the man has to invest in that for her for a job that really won't hardly pay. Or maybe she decides she's a feminist and wants to go study gender studies, and the man has to put her through college for that, otherwise he's a sexist patriarchal pig. But the point is that there's going to be a lot of random miscellaneous stuff that the woman wants that I can't really categorize other than to say it's whatever the hell she wants. All right, so at this point, we've basically filled up the female side of the Venn diagram. We got no more room there, and it's lucky that I was on the last thing there. Quite ironically, I had just enough room, and yet at the same time, somehow, I haven't thought of anything for the men's side in the meantime. So let me just try to come up with at least something for that. Like, I gotta... I can't think of anything. Is there nothing? I mean, there's got to be something, men. But everything I can think of that is a benefit of a relationship at all would be already on here as one of these things. I mean, the only way you could possibly add any more things is to say, well, what if the couple, don't work out and then there's a divorce? Well, then you could add even more to the to the board, because then the woman gets to keep a lot of the man's money and resources and assets, and gets even more. I mean, she gets the kids at that point, so we'll put that here. And she gets more money from him. She gets child support. They were married. She gets alimony. There's really no benefits to a man in a relationship. Unfortunately, the woman gets everything from the man that she wants and or needs, and he gets nothing from her unless it is something that she benefits from and wants or needs as well. The only ways a man benefits from a relationship are if those benefits are shared. But, a woman gets to benefit from the man in ways that he doesn't share in the benefit of, in ways that are exclusively for her, and the benefits keep coming even if she chooses to end the relationship. There's so much there that I've now run out of space. I've got no more space to write there. And even if there are special relationships out there with special women who take less and offer more to the man, well, those benefits that they have to offer to the man that are currently in the exclusively woman side, they would be very few. So you could take some things and put them over here, right? And then they are sharing the benefit, right? So even if there are one or more female benefits that are actually shared that I might have put over here, but in some relationships they're more there in the middle, there are no ways that a relationship exclusively benefits men. And women are always going to be benefiting exponentially more than a man. In this scenario, the man has 3 benefits as long as they are together. And then the woman has, over a dozen. So even if and when there are some exceptions out there, there are only exceptions that prove the rule, at least in these modern times. All right. Now, all throughout history, up until modern times, both men and women had to contribute to the domestic relationship. When men hunted, women gathered. When men worked and provided, women cooked and cleaned and took care of the home and raised children. And thus marriage was actually a more equal domestic partnership where both people were working together. And that institution worked for millennia up until today. Now, women think that they don't have have to bring anything to the table, and men have to do everything for them. And it's not a mutually beneficial partnership anymore. It's a sponsorship. You as a man aren't in an equal relationship. You are supporting her and self-sacrificing to do so, more like a parent than a lover. This is why women's dating profiles are usually just a grocery list of all that they want from a man, not writing anything about what they have to offer him in return, because they don't offer men anything. All they do is take. So let that be a lesson to you men out there. There are no ways in which you independently benefit from a relationship, and yet there are plenty of ways in which the woman will independently benefit off of you in a relationship, which is really interesting because women are constantly talking about how they are the prize, and that is why men have to offer all of this stuff to them. But yet, when you put this up here, it makes you wonder what exactly it is that makes women a prize when they aren't offering any value to a man and are only taking value. Because as a business person who likes to dabble in things such as economic theory and such, in order for something to be a prize, it has to have value, right? And that value has to be either monetary or demonstrable or measurable somehow, right? And yet there are no ways a woman offers men value in a relationship. So all of these women out there talking about their worth and their value and how they are the prize and such, well, that's actually apparently unfounded, and they can't back it up with anything because all they do is take value and not offer it. So there's really nothing giving them real value, and so this talk about how valuable they are and all of their worth is actually just empty narcissism, one of the worst traits that you could have. And in fact, it is unhealthy to be in a relationship with a narcissist, and that is why they leech value off of men in the way of things such as attention and validation and emotional support and unconditional love and happiness and such, without giving any of that back to a man and reciprocating. So from an economic standpoint, there is really no good logic or reason behind getting into a relationship with a woman as a man and investing your time, energy, and resources in her. It is what any business person or economist would call a bad investment, and something that just seems crazy. So I hope that teaches you men out there to avoid relationships with women who are really just there to use you.
Did you know that women talking about the patriarchy is actually just a manipulation, and we are really living in a matriarchy? Women aren't the oppressed class that they make themselves out to be. In actuality, it is just a front so that they can oppress us men. Men are the real victims in society and have been the slaves of women for generations now. And it is time for us to break free. Learn everything you need to know about female-on-male sexism in my newly released book called Misandry Exposed, on sale for a special price that won't last long, so check it out using the link below.